Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I have a very special guest with me. So his name is Mr. Prasad Sawant. Prasad sir is one of the most successful optometrists in our country. Currently, Prasad sir is practicing in his own optometry clinic named as Sawant Optometry Clinic. And apart from being an optometrist, he also plays a very good cricket at the district level. And today in this episode, we have discussed some of the most untold stories of his life, that he really wanted to become a cricketer and then he turned out to be most successful optometrist in our country. So I'm super excited to begin this section. So without any further delay, let's get started. Okay. So welcome back to this new episode of the Optometry podcast. So today I'm very happy to invite one of my most favorite contact lens practitioner in India. His name is Mr. Prasad Sawant. So before we start, I'll just share a few of his academic landmarks. So in 2001, he completed his bachelor's in optometry. Then he went ahead to LV Prasad Eye Institute to do his fellowship in clinical optometry. And then he came back to Pune and then he started doing masters in optometry. So which was the first batch from the Bharati Vidyapith University. And then in 2008, he became the clinical associated for the pros lenses, which are like made by the Boston Sight Foundation, which is located in United States of America. And then having keen interest in contact lens and specialty contact lens, he did various fellowship in the field of contact lens. Just to name a few, he did his FIACL fellowship and then FBCLA, and also he also did the fellowship in American Academy of Optometry. So I'm so excited to share his journey, like how he achieved this milestone, and let's see how we can discuss more with him. So I truly welcome you to my channel, sir, and thank you so much for taking out this time.
Thank you, Manil. It was my pleasure. So honestly, I wasn't aware that you're also a BVP student earlier. So if you remember our first discussion when you asked me about, for an interview, I said, I'm sorry, introduce yourself. So I'm really sorry about that because I wasn't aware that, you're also part of BVP. So that's fine. It is good to interact with you. And thank you for inviting me. I think this is something no different from what typically we go with academics and lectures or any kind of sessions and all. But yeah, let us go ahead and see how that goes. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm truly grateful that you accepted the invitation, and I just wanted to start with the discussion by asking you, how did you landed in the field of optometry? Like, what was your story behind that?
Okay, that's interesting question actually. Honestly, this was not my first choice of career. I'm sure for the most of them, but yeah, because we are actually from the generation of the optometry or like optician. So my parents, like my father has the optical business, and we were the kind of pioneers in this city. So where I'm actually staying, it is called Dombivli, which is district Thane. It's part of Mumbai suburb. And my father started the optical business here in year 1972. Like last year, we completed 50 years for same. And he actually struggled and he came way ahead actually in his life. So I've been seeing him from my childhood, my college days, and all those things. So honestly, I wanted to become a cricketer, and I was actually very good in cricket, and it was going very well. But at some point of time, where actually the final selection came of the MCA, that is Mumbai Cricket Association. And one point of time, I got stuck, and they asked my father that you need to pay something extra if he has to get selected in the squad. So my father said that time it's fine. I mean, let me talk to my son and get back to you. So he told me that see, at this point of time, if somebody is asking me to bribe or asking some amount of favors to get it select, and what will happen ahead. So I think we should not go ahead with this field. So why don't you do something which is going to help us in business? And then that way actually I moved from the my hobby or other than whatever I was liking it to the optometry field. And Then the closest possible was in Mumbai, which was the diploma in optometry.
Yeah.
And that time, optometry itself, I'm sure still today people are struggling to, recognize optometry, but, that time it was still further tough. So we took the admission in the diploma in optometry, and, by that time it was year 1994. And then it was 3 years. So 2 year diploma and 1 year internship. So that time it actually, got me into the optometry field. So we finished in 1997. And then after that, I, joined for a year some of the hospitals like Bombay hospitals, one of the local hospitals is optometry. And I practiced in my father's optical outlet for 2 years. That way.
Okay. So the cricket one is very unique story. Like you had to be a good cricketer, and even we see your post on Facebook also. Like you're also passionate about playing cricket, but then you somewhere landed in the field of a beautiful field actually, optometry. Yeah. So
Yeah,
just
of
yeah.
course, it is beautiful. I passionately enjoy it, really.
Yes. So, having like moving forward, you did your bachelor's and even master's also. Then, how did you choose contact lens as your specialty subject? Because as we all know that there are various sectors like binocular vision is one of them, low vision is also one of them. So, why did you selected contact lens as your area of specialty? Like, why only contact? Why not?
So actually, yeah, I understand what question is, but then you know what? First of all, there was no plan to go even for bachelor's. So I would like to start with that first. There was no plan to go for master's. There was no plan to go for any fellowship. Nothing that sort of. I was actually enjoying my father's practice.
Yeah.
2 year, I really dedicatedly worked as an optometrist, and then that 2 years, I realized day in day out I'm practicing. There are a lot of patients by God's grace. Uh, but it was getting me monotonous, and I was like the personality where I just cannot stay at one place for longer duration. So then I realized, something better should be done for my career, because today I'm just having a diploma holder. Even tomorrow, if I stand for marriage, or even tomorrow, if I want to go out, stand in some people. So just being a diploma holder, I think I'll not get a good recognition. So I started searching things, and then one of my friend actually from Thane, he brought me introduction of this college of Bharati Vidyapeeth, and he pushed me actually. So he wanted to take me on the first batch, but I said no, you go ahead, and I'll just see how is it going. If it is everything is okay, then I'll join the second batch. So honestly, because of him, I got it pushed into BVP. When I joined BVP, actually, BVP was a really interesting journey. Those 2 years, directly getting admission in third year, the CET exam, interview, everything was done. I remember the day when actually I traveled for exam. It was heavily raining. Somehow we could reach, and then we could finish the exam. I got selected, and when I was with all those students of my batch, most of them were the LVP passed out. So most of them were the LVP fellowship passed out student. So even though I was really good in academic, I was excelling in academic, I used to, stay back in the practicals in front of them. So every unit test, every semester test, these guys used to go ahead, and, we used to stand back. We used to stand back in exams, marks, and everything. So then, I started scratching my head, see what is happening, why these people are ahead than us. And then I realized their clinical knowledge is much, much better than what we are standing now. Even though we are good in academics, but it is all going in vain. We need to learn such a way that, equal to opthal or better than opthal. And then I decided that let us finish bachelor and don't go back. We will go to LVP, and then I applied LVP for the fellowship. So by the time I went there, it's like those 13 months were like, I know, I'm sure most of your viewers and you must be also knowing, it is like a military style and defense, like entire, curriculum and the environment and the timings and all those. And that 13 months like drastically changed my personality, thought process, and the overall approach or prospect looking towards the optometry. Then I came back and then I realized this is not like simply optical business where we should, go ahead and do it. So let us do it something better, something much ahead than what my daddy has done. So then I, insisted that let me open an optometry clinic, which is, I think, probably the first kind of a named as an optometry clinic, probably in India, or maybe there could be earlier, but at least I was not aware. So I started an optometry clinic where all the comprehensive services were being listed. But coming back to your question, where you asked me why contact lenses and why not binocular, why not low vision. But Moni, let me tell you, I started my specialty career as a low vision specialist.
Oh,
And I'm sure many of the students at that time probably was aware, or the faculties of BVP and other seniors and colleagues were aware of that. I started my career as a low vision specialist. And I used to teach also at BVP the low vision. I used to come as a visiting faculty, and I was nowhere near contact lenses. I mean, contact lenses was just a routine contact lenses for my practice. And slowly and steadily, my low vision practice was also getting better. But eventually, I realized that, sorry to say that, but low vision was little slow practice, time consuming, and eventually, out of that, taking out of money from the patient was really painful,
yeah.
because these patients were already, going through lot of problems, complications, psychosocial problems, and then you're trying to show them little better, and then you're asking them, this is costing so much of amount will be involved in this, so and so. And people, not all the patients were, uh, financially well. So, all these things were actually taking a lot of thought process on this practice. And one day, I remember one of the retina ophthal in my locality, he used to refer his low vision patient to my practice. One day he called me at his practice and said, look, Prasad, I've been sending patients to you, but it is better if you teach everything to my assistant. She is a head nurse here, sister, and I think you should teach her everything so that my patients will remain in the same premises, and so they don't want to travel. Then I realized I cannot teach something which the person who is not from the optical background or the optometry background, and they're not aware of the basics. So that really, gave me the pain. So I realized there's no point in continuing the illusion practice, because I cannot be dependent on any of the retina ophthal or any ophthal where keep waiting I should get those patients and then I start my practice. And then my entire pendulum has been changed to something better.
Yeah.
And that time the basic contact lens itself practice was actually emerging. And thanks to all the my seniors or the faculties who are involved in the contact lens, they helped me a lot to learn. And slowly I shifted my paradigm to the contact lenses. That way actually went.
Okay, that was actually very, path-changing journey, like how you ended up in the low vision. And I totally agree on that point that whenever we provide a low vision aid to a patient who is already suffering through a lot of stages, so at that point we cannot charge much of the amount. So that's a very practical point, I would say. And then, like,
Yeah, it is not only about right. So
yeah,
what I was actually pointing it out is it is not only about the cost, honestly, Monip, but
yeah,
you know what? The amount of time we dedicate in a private practice, and then your other patients are also waiting,
mm,
and then you're losing out on those patients, and you need to have a really good patience. You need really have to have that kind of a amount of time dedicatedly goes to the listening to those patients. I mean, you can do it, but I still feel this is one of the best institute best practice where one particular clinic is dedicated to the low vision department. What
yeah,
typically LV Prasad or Shankaratralaya or the other big institute they have.
yeah,
And if you're associated with them, if you're completely devoted to that part of the clinic, then this is really a good practice. In fact, that gives you more satisfaction. that gives you a more peace of mind when you are actually making patient from visually disabled to visually able. And but in private practice, somehow I felt, it is like a very tough task.
Okay. Yeah, I truly agree because we need to see the other patient also. And the main point in the low vision practice is the rehabilitation point. That's the more time consuming, I feel.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for rehabilitation, again, I need to send it to
Again,
NAB or some other
yeah,
practices,
practices, yeah.
or sometimes even I have to refer to LVP directly. So, you're doing half part to them, half justice to these
Yeah.
patients. So this is what I felt. And then I shifted.
Okay. Okay. So like moving forward on this, like as you started the specialty contact lens practice, so do you find any specific skill set which was like required, like which helped you a lot in your, specialty contact lens practice, like any specific skills or like in terms of training or maybe communication skills, anything else?
Uh, yeah, of course, because see, it is like it has to come from your, inner peace or like inner side, that
Yeah.
I need to learn that, I need to learn this as well, I need to learn that well. I would like to learn whatever the best possible technology is. So it should be self-interest generated practice. Nobody can impose on you कि अच्छा जाओ और ये सीखो और ये करके आओ. I think you will not learn that way. It has to come from your inner mind. So when I started regular contact lens practice, that has been done for almost for 10 years. And then I said, bas, ye bhi bahut ho gaya abhi. Now let us do something better. And then, so as I said earlier, I have a very little patience in practice. So, it has to go something or other way on a different path all time. And, luckily, there are incidences came in my life. Like I went to uh, Goa through Bosch and Lomb as a key opinion leader when they launched their, I remember, Pure Vision spherical lenses. And that is uh, I think that story is somewhere in 2006, 7. Yeah, 2007. So there was a conference in Goa, and through Bosch and Lomb, I was there as a key opinion leader. So I gave my talk on the dais and came down. I came down from the dais,
Nice, yeah.
right. So I came down from dais after my talk, and Dr. Chandrasekhar Chavan was there. So
Yeah.
in the audience, he just came from US that time. He was with Boston Foundation side.
Okay.
And we used to know each other very well because he was my first tutor to teach me retinoscopy by holding my hand, because he used to work with my dad for 6-7 years as an optometrist. And then that time I was in a diploma in optometry, and when he went to US, I worked as a locum in Bombay Hospital that time. So he just called me, "Hi Prasad." I said, "Hi sir." So he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing, routine optometry practice, basic contact lens." He said, "Do you want to learn something which is fantastically and something exciting coming up in the market?" I said, "What is that?" He said, "Scleral lenses." I said, "Fine. So let me, hear what exactly he has a plan and all." And then we sat in that evening. I remember even Nilesh was there with me, Nilesh Tite. And, I went, I met him. He gave me all the terms and conditions. And, in 2008 beginning, I started learning all these things in Mumbai. By end of 2008, he sent me to the Boston for the final fellowship at the Boston Foundation for Sight, Massachusetts in US. And by the time I went there, almost I was completely, my hands-on were really clear, and I was almost thorough in the entire concept of the scleral and all. So there I went for the 3 months. It was just like formality, honestly. And by the time I finished the entire training and all, came back, you know uh, then we started in Mumbai, and then I got my individual practice, and then I also joined at the another hospital and all those things. So slowly and steadily, I went to the specialty of the sclerals. Then actually, it is really interesting. From sclerals, I came back and learned those other things. It was like
Okay.
generally people move from the soft
So
GP rosacea, hybrid, and sclerals.
Yeah.
It was like in my case, it was exactly opposite. So I started from scleral and then hybrid to rosacea to GP. GP was anyway my part of my practice.
Yeah.
So so that was not that big deal. So learning rosacea and other things was not that big task.
Yeah.
So this is how actually I went in that. But coming back to your question, what different skill you need to have to learn this? I will say first is listening skills. You need to listen your patients very patientfully, and then carefully what their requirement is, what exactly their expectation is, and second is your confidence.
Yeah.
Unless and until you are absolutely confident in handling lenses, whatever the lens is, whether it's basic, soft, GP, rose K, hybrid, whatever, unless and until you are not truly confident on yourself in handling lenses, incision removal, fitting, do not try on the patients, because it's like a first impression is a last impression.
Okay.
If you are not able to insert the lens on the first attempt or max to max second attempt, patient says I'm in a wrong hand. And if you are able to insert the lens, whether it is scleral or anything, any hybrid or any lens, by making the patient comfortable, the patient has a full faith and confidence on you. Then after that, whatever amount of time you take in consultation or trials and all doesn't matter. Because generally, what I've seen from last 15, 20 years of my specialty, these patients might have already seen one or other optom who is doing some kind of a sclerals or some kind of other specialty lenses. They have that experience. It could be either good or bad. I'm not saying everyone is not perfect, or there could be a better practitioners than you also. So there could be a thin line of judgment when this patient comes to you. If that patient comes fresh to you, you're lucky, I would say. But if that patient has already been visited to some or other practice where the specialty has been tried, and if it is not successful, then you are actually standing on a very thin line. If you could finish that in a successful way, you're done. And then that patient remains for the life with you as a specialty practice. So that's what the skill you need. So confidence, self-confidence, not the overconfidence, of course, the self-confidence and the listening skills. These two things has to be
there. Yes. And even I remember in one of your lecture which you did on scleral lenses, you mentioned that your first scleral lens insertion should be bubble free. Because if you create a bubble like insertion with bubbles, you will have a very wrong impression. Like the patient will not have a good visual acuity, or he might not
right.
be comfortable. So this is more specific in terms of scleral
Right.
lens, also for the GP lenses also. Yeah, so getting a proper training is
Typically.
very important. So what I used to do is I used to practice on my own self before I, get thorough trained to do it on other people. So that has helped me a little bit more. Moving forward, my next question would be like if say some of the junior optometrists or fresher optometrists, I would say, want to pursue their career in the field of contact lens, like they want to become a part of this team. So what guidance you would follow? Like after doing their bachelor's of in optometry, what are the other steps which they can do and become a specialist contact lens practitioner? Like what are the paths which are available for the juniors?
Yeah, that's a good question actually, because typically you get this question from almost every final year optom.
Yeah.
कि सर मुझे ये करना है, सर मुझे वो करना है, मैं क्या करूं अभी, कैसे करूं?
Yeah.
So any questions or any queries, or whenever I get any mail from someone, first thing I ask them is like, how's your family doing? I mean, I'll make it more specifically clear. What I mean to say is, if your family and yourself financially sound, I will insist them you further go ahead and learn either any clinical fellowship or residency from any recognized institute like LV Prasad, Shankaracharya, Arvind, or any XYZ, whoever is having a best kind of a clinical services, where they can get a good hands-on and the clinical practice. If they have the issue of finance and then they have no choice, then at least they can get attached to a practice like this where the practitioner is passed out from these institutes. So work under them and get it learned with the experience. So there are two ways to do it. Either you can go directly into the same channel, get your fellowship done, get your contact lens residency done or contact lens fellowship done, and passed out with those skills, and then attached to any good specialty practice where you get the good hands-on and the experience how to tackle these patients and how to start and end with the best management, because all these patients starting is really easy, ending is very tough, and it is again a time consuming process. It is not like one time. I'm sure you must be knowing this. So it's not one time process ki aaya chashma diya number diya chashma banaya gaya. It is like it's a process, and it's a long process. At least I at least take 3 months to complete one patient if the patient is local or easily accessible. If the patient is from the outstation, then we try to grab it things in the little faster manner or in the minimum visits. But if it is accessible patient, local patient, I usually monitor these patients for next 3 months, and then we try to end up with the best possible result. So that is my, sincere request to all the emerging students. Get yourself sound clinically with best of fellowships, whatever the area you are interested in. Then you make sure you please work under the guidance of one of your senior who is already kind of flourished in the similar area of the practice, at least a year or two, and then you jump in your own practice. That will help you a long way in your life. Else you'll be like starting in a hurry and you end up in nothing. The best way they can do it, actually. And there are n number of institutes like Shankara Netralaya has the contact lens fellowship. I think L. Prasad has those facilities where these people, so these people can definitely enroll. And if they are really interested, if you really make it clear your target is perfect, I think you can easily get it.
Correct. So doing a fellowship and then getting experience from the senior optometrist and then jump into the private.
Yes.
The three
And
steps.
you know what, people do ask me, absolutely. People do ask me that should I go masters first or fellowship first? At least till date, honestly, not all the institutes, but let me be very, very clear with my statement. Not with all institute. There are absolute great Excel institute like Shankaracharya, L. Prasad and all this, where MPhil and masters and other good these things are there. But other than leaving those great institutes, you do masters from any other place, you're not going to get a good clinical skills. You're going to get a good degree, but that degree will not help you in practice. So clinical fellowship, clinical practice, even after bachelor's, is, I would say, much more higher equivalent to that the masters. And of course, then you have an option to come back and do masters. In fact, it is the easier process. Bachelor's, clinical fellowships, and then come back and do masters rather than bachelor's, master, and then fellowship. It becomes more tough because this is. But I'm sure scenario and things will change in the near future, where the optometry itself is going to be an altogether different career.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing those steps, because I really feel that you made it very clear. Because many of the juniors feel that what should we do? Should we pursue masters or fellowship? And there are many questions. So I really feel that you made it very simple and straightforward thing. And like moving on to my last question, which I feel is more important, like doing all the optometry thing, being a very good academician, being a good practitioner, how do you manage to maintain your personal life also, which is also very important, your personal life, your mental peace also? So, and even I have seen that you are a very good cricketer player. So how did you manage this, like this whole thing in a single 24 hours? Like, can you please share the schedule of this point?
Uh, you know, uh, it's really difficult, honestly. It's tough. There's nothing called balance. Keeping a step on 2, 3, 4, 5 different stones, it is really, really tough. It is exhausting. But yes, as long as you're enjoying the things what you do, and if you don't do it with the stress, I think you should able to do it. Yeah, so my day typically starts morning, and then either there'll be some kind of exercise or yoga, typically, or at least I try to do yoga thrice in a week. Then alternate day, I normally try to do something else. Either it could be swimming, or it could be just walk or cycling. Because honestly, if you ask me to keep yourself fit, to maintain all these things, or to stepping on the different stones, you have to be physically and mentally fit.
Yeah.
More than for the routine fitness, I do fitness for my cricket, because typically when I'm in the ground, I normally spend almost a day on Saturday or Sundays, and typically we play all these T20s or two T20 game, and I normally keep a wicket. So wicket keeper is like typically 40 hours of like 40 overs on the
Okay.
uh, ground, doing all these squats and all. So so for that I enjoy that, and then opening a inning and doing things for the team. Cricket was my passion, honestly, and I now got opportunity since I'm relatively settled. I will not say that I'm settled. No one gets settled in their life, so I'm relatively settled. So from last 6 years, I'm 46. I started cricket again at age of 39 or 40 again.
Okay.
So typically people take a retirement from the games, or typically people give away the fitness or other things which are really hectic. But I actually started playing again at 39, and then today I'm 46. Last 6 7 years I'm playing. My aim is to play at least till 50. So
Okay.
for that I'm keeping myself fit. I don't know after that if God help me. uh that is one. That is for my game and cricket and other things. But if you ask me, the balancing between academics and the practice and all those things,
Yeah.
uh, Monday is my weekly off actually, so that helps me a little bit, because Monday then I get time with my family. Saturday, Sundays we are really really busy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my matches also falls on Saturday, Sundays. So on those days I work half.
Uh,
So if you ask me what is my schedule on Saturday, Sunday, like Saturday, if it is a morning match, I have to get up at somewhere at 6,
hmm.
get my daily routine, then all my Bhagwan ki puja karo and all those things,
Yes.
rush it to
Yes.
with the team to the ground and play your game, come back by, grounds are almost kind of a 1 hour drive from my place minimum.
Okay.
So if I leave match by 5 o'clock, I have to rush back at 6 o'clock to the house in the evening, quickly getting fresh and 6:30, go to the clinic, continuously see the patients till 9:30 or 10, and then you come back and then have dinner with family or without family sometimes, and then chat with them. All those things. It's like we are to running on the toe.
So,
And thankfully my family supports, thankfully my friends supports, thankfully my parents supports, for everything. Yeah, sometimes there'll be like kind of a up and down in because of all the schedule. People do get bored with that kind of a things, but yes, I somehow manage. And luckily, my wife is also an optom, so most of you guys are knowing. So Anjali, so when I'm in my absence, she handles all my clinic practice and everything. So
yeah.
honestly, I don't look at the practice in a purchasing field of the frames and all those things. I just work as a clinician. I
Hmm.
just go there as an optometrist. I just work as a practitioner. Rest everything taken care by my family, my father and my wife. So really thanks to them. I don't know when those things will come to me, but then at least the time being, I am enjoying the other part of the optometry. So
Yeah.
that way, and academics is like academics like my anyways that my kind of a passion since beginning. So yeah, I love to give a talks, love to share my experiences. Since you know the things which is coming in your practice day in day out, you're doing the things, either it is specialty or low vision or any XYZ or pure clinical practice or even simple refraction cases.
Yeah.
It is good if you share, and then eventually, I got those habit of clicking photos. I
Hmm.
don't know whether you are aware of that.
Yeah.
I have more than 10 15,000 uh, clinical photos of my practices. So I make it group wise, and I store them as a with the patient name, diagnosis, practice where I've seen, because I have a hospital practice also, Wednesdays and Fridays, or Wednesday or Friday, or sometimes Wednesday and Friday.
And
2 days I work as a specialty contact lens optometrist in the institute. The name is the Eye Super Specialties. That's in Ghatkopar. That's in Mumbai. So
yeah,
I have to travel almost 1 hour drive one way. And I'm there since 2009, if I'm not wrong. So Wednesday, Friday, Wednesday or Friday, or sometimes Wednesday and Friday there. Monday, Thursday, Saturdays in my clinic. Sundays on ground. Mondays for family. So that way my work is done. So this is how I actually manage.
yeah, that's actually very good. Actually, you have like specifically dedicated days to respected of things like the cricket thing and the optometry thing, and even the
Yeah,
family. And then even I do relate with the point which you mentioned previously that having a good fitness gives you a good clinical role. Like I also started playing tennis recently in the morning.
absolutely.
Yeah, so the energy level and the way
Right.
talking with your
That's right.
patient, it shows it's been
Yeah,
different.
that helps in your practice.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely,
Your
absolutely. Yeah.
positive attitude, and if you start doing whatever you like it
Hmm.
in your free time, or by dedicating the actual time,
Hmm.
then the remaining time of the quality in your practice makes the huge difference in your practice. So that positivity helps you.
That is actually very correct. I have recently discovered this thing and I'm trying to be a more consistent. But because you make,
Right.
yeah, discipline is the main thing, I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel that we have came to the end of the discussion and I really hope that our viewers have got
Okay.
answers correctly. And once again, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Prasad sir for taking out this time and it's a midnight over here. So for conducting this session. And just one small request. So I can drop your email ID in the description box so that few of the juniors who
No
may have
problem.
questions related to
Right.
contact lens or anything, they can get connect with you in the meantime. Yeah.
Instead of that, you can even put my mobile number. I don't have any issues. I always connect
Okay.
with all the students
Okay.
on the WhatsApp, so no issues at
Yeah.
all.
That's
You
actually
can put my
more
cell phone as
convenient, I feel, WhatsApp and
convenient.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah,
So
absolutely convenient.
surely
So
I'll keep this in the description box. And just again, just a big thanks to you for taking out this time.
no problem, Onil. Thank you so much for your time.